I'm going to read some headlines for you. Nick Alberga tweeted these out, and I thought these were great. Maple Leafs leadership sets the tone for the franchise-defining offseason. Everything is on the table. Brendan Shanahan to remain as Maple Leafs president. Organization touts roster changes. Maple Leafs brass says, quote, everything must be on the table in order to improve. Chris.
Who flipped over the table?
Is that what you think that they did this offseason?
I mean, they let Ilya Lyubushkin walk.
True.
Damn.
True. Big moves in Toronto.
He's going to win the cup in Dallas.
He is.
Oh, yeah.
Get the cup from Mason Marchment.
Yeah.
He's probably going to bring it back to Toronto like every other former.
Isn't that mean? It's mean. They should stop doing that.
Especially when they're not from here.
I love
Phil
it.
Kessel's like, I'm partying in Toronto.
I love it.
I know.
So,
And they always bring it to a kid's hospital so you can't get mad.
so
And after that, it's Tyler Bertuzzi walks, and they got a bunch of new D. That's the only changes with the roster.
notable new D.
Sure. Yes.
And
signed a term.
And we were just talking about bets. Joseph Wool's a bet. We'll get to all that. And so you said they let Lyubushkin walk. Is that kind of your summation of how bold you think they were this offseason?
Yeah, they weren't bold at all. I mean, they made, it's not to say I don't like some of the moves they made, but it's hard to call any of them bold, right? They signed a goaltender they feel good about. They signed Chris Tanev, who obviously has been a long-time target. You know,
OEL.
add OEL. We'll see about Yannick Hakanpaa.
Do you know anything about that? Is he going to play?
I think, well, I'll alert you to this. They have yet to officially announce his signing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's an oh boy. I think that's they have to get him medically cleared before they would do so,
Okay.
which is not unusual.
The doctors looked at him, though, did they not? Did they not have a
When?
look?
I think they reviewed his records, but now they will get their own doctors to look at him
Okay.
specifically. That's my understanding.
Man, one Steve Simmons article, and all of a sudden this whole signing held up. Like, it's great.
I can't remember a free agent signing like this in recent memory.
Well, they never announced it, right? But like that day is so crazy.
Yeah.
Like we report a lot of stuff. Like they did announce, like I can't remember one of their signings they did announce the next day, even though we'd already reported
Yeah, it was
Stolarz.
Yeah.
I think.
And even when Brad Treliving spoke to the media on the night of July 1st or late afternoon, he talked about Yannick Hakanpaa.
Yeah.
But like it's, we all get ahead of ourselves, but nothing is officially official until it's filed with the league. And so the Leafs don't officially have him under contract. I think they've agreed to a contract pending physical.
Passing the physical.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's going to do so or not. I mean, obviously there was some doubt in Dallas based on Steve Simmons' reporting. It's not a bad bet though. Like if
No.
First of all, that money, that dollar figure, $1.5 million, and big right shot D, and the Leafs believe they have the best training staff in the league. Like, why wouldn't you bet on your people getting more out of him than anyone else could?
So, okay, so Yanni's great. But I want to, it's important to start from the organizational level here because Mitch Marner has been the topic du jour for 9 weeks. And to me, this situation starts and ends with management. It starts last year when Kyle Dubas said what the Leafs said this year, which was, we need to put everything on the table to change this up. It seemed like either Nylander or
But he
Marner
said that
would be up
4
the
days
door.
before he was fired.
Right.
So nobody ever did anything.
Well, that's what we're saying is that
But it was on the table.
that was part of the. It seemed like that was part of the reason. Like
You may recall I reported when they hired Brad Treliving, the first thing they did is phone all the core 4 guys or their agents or whoever and make it known, don't worry, everything's okay.
So, what happened this offseason? Where was the conversation at the management level? Forget going to the agent. I'll ask that in a second. At the management level in the boardroom, did they ever say this player is out of contract in a year? This player hasn't really performed well for us in late rounds in the playoffs. We should probably look at moving on from this player in order to support the rest of the group that we've put together. Have they ever had that conversation? Did they ever address it?
Well, they had the conversation that they'd be willing to move him
They did have that conversation.
internally, and I would suppose externally with other teams. I don't think they've ever gotten to a point where they had a deal anywhere close to one that they'd want to make. And to my knowledge, they haven't even gone to his representative and asked him to waive his no move.
So they would have a deal in place first before they'd ask him.
I think that's the way you do it.
Okay. I don't know what the processes are, so.
I mean, because otherwise you're dealing in hypotheticals. I mean, look, there's 2 ways you do it. You go to the agent or the player or both and say, if we were to move you somewhere, what kinds of places might you want to play? And you hope he gives you a list longer than one. Because if it's one, it's an awfully hard trade to make no matter who the one is. It's just hard if you're only dealing with one suitor. That's what happened in the Matthew Tkachuk deal from Calgary. Is he had a few teams he was willing to go to at that time, Florida being one of them. I know Carolina was one, St. Louis was one. There might have been more, but there was at least three. And so at that time, Brad Treliving was able to talk to...
Wasn't it Carolina, St. Louis, Florida?
There might have...
Was there a fourth?
I don't know if Tampa was there. I don't know.
I think Natchez was part of that deal, potentially.
Yeah, I mean... It's funny. The same names come up, right? Because it's just like maybe not quite perfect fits for what those teams have and their talented players. But that at least gave Treliving at that time a chance to talk to multiple GMs and then pick the package he thought was best, and they made the deal. That hasn't happened again, to my knowledge, with the Marner situation. So here's I guess what we have to learn is the quote you keep reading there, and what is it? Everything
is on the table.
Is this a quote that was just like supplied?
No, that's what they said.
No, sorry. Was this a quote that was supplied to them like as a way to manage that moment?
I think it was.
To satisfy everybody? But like, did they actually act on it?
That's why I'm asking you, because I don't feel like they have. I think the team's better, but I don't think they've been bold.
No, we all showed up to the drive-thru and the ice cream machine's broken. Like, with
So then what do you do?
The sign said, you can get an ice cream sundae here. And then I get there and there's no ice cream. And so, yeah, I'm disappointed. They said everything's on the table and then did nothing remotely sort of what the team needs to do. And I'm upset.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. The problem, they waited a year too long.
Well, we all know that.
I hate,
they have to undo their own
and I'm
mistakes.
sorry, I hate relitigating everything, but it's actually the truth.
Yes.
Like, where Kyle was a year ago mentally was the right place to be at that time. Mm-hmm. He'd seen the team fall in predictable ways. He had a window before no trades kicked in for both Nylander and Matthews, but they weren't trading Matthews and Marner. Mm-hmm. And he was, for the first time, publicly saying, we're going to look at the options of moving. He didn't say moving those players, but that's what he was alluding to. That's what he was winking at. But they had that window when they could have done it, right?
Yep.
And it could have been Nylander or Marner, right? Like they were looking at both.
100%.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, and someone can fact check me, I'm pretty sure that Tampa just traded Mikhail Sergachev before his no move kicked in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
My point is they were in the same window and they're like, this is the last time we can do it where we don't need his permission. And Sergachev seems happy in Utah. But the point is Tampa was going to make the best move for Tampa before that no move kicked in.
Instead, the Leafs opted via Brendan Shanahan for turmoil at the top and an expiration of that opportunity.
Oh, team with a good track record, team with a bad one.
Yes, and then
Pick your pick.
And I'm not even second guessing this, but that also locked them into giving Nylander the extension in a roundabout way, because then it's
his
like,
no trade kicked in, didn't it?
Well, yeah, his no trade kicks in, so you're not moving him, and then he has a great start to the season. Well, you're just going to walk him to free agency. It's like everything is a cascading set of circumstances. But I go back to like when they hired Dubas, probably at the wrong time.
Yep.
It was Colorado had been pushing to get him. Right?
Well, and Lou's contract was up. Lou Lamoriello, his predecessor. So it was the right time to hire him for the organization. But it was right before going into all those negotiations with the players. The negotiations didn't go particularly well from a team standpoint, starting with even missing Nylander for 2.5 months.
Never seemed to.
So I guess we were back to square one with the same team, the same core of the team.
Why is the MLSE board okay with this? Other than the fact that the Raptors aren't going to make the playoffs this year. Financially, it makes sense, but other than that.
I guess the answer to that is they're not. So what Keith Pelly said that day too, we didn't talk about that, but he said, I'm not here to sell sweaters, right? And so he's the new president that reports to the board between Shanahan and the hockey leadership. And he sort of made it sound like we're not here just to be a behemoth in the industry. We're here to win. But they have yet to act that way as an organization, going back to preceding Keith, right? I think the reason they've been okay with it is because the teams won a lot in the regular season. They do get playoff gates every year. I think that they're first or second or third every single year in revenues among NHL teams. So they are a successful business. They just haven't had the kind of success that... This is actually my pet theory, honestly, on why no Canadian teams have won in 30 years. I think that like there's all kinds of factors layered into this, and each market's maybe a little different. But in general, like speaking high level, that these teams don't have to win a cup to be successful.
No, they don't.
They just have to be kind of okay, and all the buildings kind of fill
Well,
up.
I think Winnipeg does. Winnipeg this year kind of showed that You even being successful, it's not good enough.
But that was 10 years in. For
Yeah.
the first 8 years or 7 years, they sold every ticket no matter what. And like I look at Florida, like that building absolutely sucked to go to. I've said this so much, but 10, 12 years ago, they had to get to a point where they're this good. And look at, now it's full. They're charging $100 to park in the parking lot.
Wow.
In the cup final anyway.
Damn.
I'm not saying every way, but like,
Yeah.
and really all that arena is an arena with a big parking lot. So like you're making pretty good money because everyone kind of has to drive there. You could drive to Sawgrass Mills Mall, by the way, park there for free and walk across the street. But I'm just saying, just pro tip.
Yeah.
But like the point is Florida has to be that good. And now they are incentivized as an organization, not just, I mean, of course, everyone likes rings and but they know that if they go back
Success brings money.
if they go back to mediocrity, they're going to be mediocre, right? To me, like Tampa, I mean, it's hard to know because Tampa's been so good for so long. But my guess is if they retreat, and I'm not predicting that they will, that they won't sell out every game anymore. But in Toronto, every game is sold out. It doesn't matter what the team does. So I think anyway, I don't think ownership is driven. We have to see more of what Keith Pelly does. I'll put it that way. He was only hired in March, right?
Yeah, but he's in charge, and I've worked under Keith Pelly, and I know how decisive he can be. You have, all four of us have, and I know that Keith Pelly not only likes to make decisions right away to change things up. He's well planned, he's well thought out. He's not a shoot from the hip guy, but this is a guy who's been really decisive, and I am shocked that he's allowed them to go through this offseason and pull this kind of shit. Because again, team's better. I think it's better. I think it's missing a third line center. But to say that you're going to be bold and then not follow through on that from a guy who, in my experience, has been nothing but bold is really surprising.
Well,
Really surprising.
there's still more than 2 months till training camp opens.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we can comment that, yeah, this is surprising, but it's not fait accompli that nothing happens.
Okay.
So next year when Brendan Shanahan gets fired and he's replaced with another president and he says, I just got here, and the Leafs are going, I just got here for the third straight year, do I have the right to be mad?
You have the right to be mad right now, man.
And he is.
I am. Yeah, they're
Just ask him about
Sorry,
it.
I was just gonna say,
Tee him up.
yeah, you do
We
not.
all know.
You do not need my permission to be mad. Like you have a right to be mad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they keep losing. It's pretty bad. I don't like it when they do that.
It's
I
not
wish they
ju-
did the other thing.
It's not just that they're losing; it's that they're losing in such predictable, familiar ways with the same.
Every year.
With the same people, I think,
Yeah.
is the key there. And when Brad Treliving talked about everything on the table, I assume he went and he looked at the table and he says those moves aren't the right moves to make at the table. But like when we expected bold moves this offseason, there was only one. Because you've laid it out a million times, Steve, in the way you formulate how the salary cap works. It was moving Mitch Marner to make a whole big change to the core.
That's where you're wrong, Jesse. There were none. They didn't even go to Marner's representation.
No, I mean,
So
like
there were
that
none.
was in terms of bold moves they could make. That was the only one that would have been acceptable if they had made that move.
But like all we heard for months is it's in Mitch Marner's hands. It's in Mitch Marner's hands. They never put it in his hands. Right? They never gave him the opportunity to say no.
They didn't want to go to war with them. I know that much.
Why not?
Go to war. Why not just be like, hey, what about this? Give him the opportunity to say
Why not? I think that
Why not? They wouldn't go to like I try to understand this. Why are they so afraid of this guy's representation? They got bullied last time into a bad deal. If Mitch Marner's a free agent this year, is he making much more than he's making now? Guy's never had 100 points.
Depends who he negotiates with.
At 99.
Never had 100.
That's semantics.
Did Medano hit 1,500 or did
All right.
he hit 1,499?
Yeah, but
Okay.
that's not the purpose of saying a guy is a 100
I
point
know.
player when a guy had 99.
Okay, and then he got 94 and then 70 something and 80 something.
Mhm.
This is not like, and it's again, I like Mitch Marner as a player. I enjoy watching him play.
Well,
I enjoy cheering for him.
Jake Gensel, he's outperformed Jake Gensel consistently.
Okay,
Not in the playoffs, but across his career. And Jake Gensel got $9 million in Tampa.
okay.
So he's getting above Gensel on the open market for sure. He's
Okay.
younger, plays the same position.
How can
But I'm not sure if he's getting $2 million more a year more than Gensel.
how can anyone have an appetite for that? How can
Sorry.
anyone hear
No,
those
so
words
this is a
and be like,
hypothetical
oh, do
if
it?
he was on the
Hypothetical.
market.
So Jake Gensel makes 9, and you're saying that you're not sure that Mitch Marner is worth $2 million more, which is what he currently makes more than Jake Gensel, or will make more than Jake Gensel when that extension kicks in.
It just depends. But yeah, look at maybe Gensel took a small haircut in Tampa.
To play for a team that you know,
Right.
has a tradition of winning.
Yeah, like maybe on the true open market, if Jake Gensel just went to the highest
Yeah.
bidder, maybe he gets 9.5. I don't know that.
Is the better comparison William Nylander, his teammate, who's had very similar, not 100-point seasons, but last year was 98, and that extension was 11.5.
I mean, Adam has already said Nylander's never had 100 points.
He never has.
yeah, he's never had 100
But
points. He
Nylander,
had
for me,
98.
brings it in the playoffs. Nylander brings it in the playoffs
does.
every year. Every year. And I think it's not about Mitch Marner not trying. I don't think it's about
He
Mitch
might
Marner.
be trying too hard. He might
with
care
you.
too much. a little
But
bit.
I think it goes back to this. Some people's games lend themselves to the playoffs. I've never seen a perimeter player, and he's a perimeter player, and that works in the regular season. I've never seen a mostly perimeter player hack it in the playoffs and be an outstanding. Nobody's like, man, he won the Conn Smythe because he stayed to the outside.
But I'll say this: it's not a fixed. Like you don't have a fixed game. Like you can change your game.
But he hasn't.
Right.
And they haven't asked him to.
But I'm saying that
So why are they so afraid of this guy?
I don't think they're afraid of him, or
Or his representatives?
I don't even think it's that. I think they're afraid of the market. They're afraid of.
What are they afraid of?
Why did they take the job?
I don't know. I mean, like
You take that job, you're afraid of the market.
you'd
You
like
should
to
be afraid
say,
of the market.
you'd like to say they took the job to try to bring the Stanley Cup back to Toronto. Like, like they got paid nicely and it's
but
a
they don't
cool
wanna
job.
do-
But beyond that, like,
They don't want to do the big and scary things that come with it. You think on my job interview at the zoo, I said I was afraid of animals?
Right. I think
Are you
the
allergic to
idea there
Yeah,
is
like
you can't do the deal just to do the deal. There also has to be a fair deal out there to make the deal. I don't think anybody would have been happy if they just did a deal and they lost it on the surface and then you move forward and you're just crossing your fingers that maybe we win this deal that on the paper we lost. You know, I feel like there had to be a dance partner for Brad Treliving.
how would you feel if they traded him straight up for Martin Necas?
sounds great.
That sounds great.
Any chance?
Really?
Any
Yeah.
dude, we
because
know
we need the cap
this
space.
group
We need the cap
doesn't
space.
work.
Keep in mind, you have to sign Necas too.
Yeah, but Natchez isn't getting 11.
No, but he might get 8.
No,
I don't,
12.
Okay.
No,
12.
So you're in the camp of like anything works. Just
I'm-
do it. I'm not
No,
on
no,
that.
I'm not in the camp of anything works. I'm in the camp of this doesn't work.
Right.
What they're doing, what they're sticking to doesn't work. We know it doesn't work. They're spending over $7 million more on the exact same group of forwards they did last year, minus Tyler Bertuzzi. They're
maybe
they're-
playoff Matthew Nyes returns in the regular season.
oh,
That
yeah,
would be
maybe.
great. That'd be
Maybe
great.
like
But I get it. It's not changing vastly what the team is.
like again, like what did you call their defeat at the hands of the Boston Bruins? The way that they lost.
I can't remember, but
It was a P word, predictable,
yeah.
dude.
I was
I'm-
thinking much worse P words than that when you first said it.
No,
Did I say that? No.
peanuts. No, it's every year they lose identically. Like identically. They had the common decency to spice it up last
Do
year.
you remember that they had a lead in the third period?
Of course I do. Of course I do.
Very briefly.
3 straight playoff series against, or no, that's not true. 3 out of the 4 series against the Bruins since 2013, they have been down 3-1, come back from down 3-1, led in the third period, and lost. That's crazy.